Right, today's video is all about fitting a water pump to a BMW E87. It's a 120 diesel fitted with the N47 engine. It's a 2009. I've got a squeak. I believe I've got a squeak on the water pump. It gets louder as it gets hotter. The water pump I've bought is a supposedly OEM Phoebe Bilstein one, part number 37023. So this video is all about replacing the water pump. First we're going to remove all the covers and bits and pieces. There's two Torx screws that hold this on. The engine cover off. That's just clipped on. I've already broken one clip off, cracked one clip off. Now we need the air box out, so that means getting this plug off. This air intake hose off. It's held on one clip. Then there's just two 10mm or 6mm bolts. Sorry, holds the air box. Right, the radiator's held in with just one single Torx screw, like a self-tapper. You need to disconnect the plug, and there's a little clip down that side. The whole coolant fan is out. Right, in the Haynes manual, to drain the radiator, they quote that you have to take the intercooler off because it sits below the radiator. To do this, you have to work under the vehicle and take the plastic under tray off, which is what I'm going to do next. Right, there's a lot of screws. They're all self-tappers that hold the plastic tray on. Right, there were 17 screws holding the large under tray under the car. Now looking up at the bottom of the intercooler, there's another smaller tray that looks like we need to remove that also, which is held on with, I believe, some screws there and there. Right, this is the other under tray. It was only held on with them two screws. Then you have to give it a little bit of a pull and that will come off. The intercooler is held in with two T25 Torx self-tappers, one at this end and one at the opposite end. Mine were quite corroded and were a bit stubborn to get out. What you have got to do is get them clips undone. Right, the clips on the intercooler, they're just clipped in. There you go, that's one out. They are a bit fiddly. There you go. That's the clip. Once the clips are removed and the screws are out, which they are, you just need to get a screwdriver in and lever the hose. Just prise the hose off. There you go, look. There you go, it's coming out. Right, now I've got to get under the vehicle without it falling out. In removing the intercooler, there's been a lot of leaves and stones and just general dust and muck all come out, and also under the vehicle radiator there was a fair bit. Also, in removing it, some little bits fell in the intercooler. Right, these are the hoses on the intercooler. When I took it off, I ended up with some leaves and things dropped in there. Just get a hoover them out. I'd also clean the rest of the interlever up a little bit as well, just so any more of the debris don't fall in when you try to reinstall it. That is a little bit tight getting in and out. At one end of the radiator, you'll find the drain plug. It is the blue bit inside the green bit. It said in the Haynes manual, do not try and undo the green bit. It is the blue bit that you undo, and it looks like you use a big flat bladed screwdriver to drain the radiator. So that's the next stage. The plug is coming out. Oh, I know why. I need to take the lid off the expansion tank. Huh? That's coming. Right, go down there, John. You'll see it coming out. Right, this is the small plug that comes out. It's got an O-ring on it. Check that's not damaged. Right, next bit is I want to take the auxiliary drive belt off. This is an item I replaced only recently in one of my other videos. If I can get the socket to go on. To release it, you need a long breaker bar with a 16mm socket. Release the tension off the belt. Remove the belt off the alternator first, that's easiest to get that. You can now release the tension back onto the tensioner, and then just remove the belt, noting the direction of the belt. So I want to put this back on the same way I am taking it off. So that means I want to put it back on like that. So I'm just going to lay that there, so now that's the way it goes back on. Right, that bit. The next thing you want to do is you want to take this hose off the thermostat housing. There's a sprung loaded clip, a bit like the ones on the intercooler. You just flick it forward like that and it locks into place. And then it just releases like that. There you go. A little bit of fluid will probably come out, not a lot. Right, this is my new water pump. It's a Febby one, German manufactured. The part number is 37023. When you get it, it comes with a brand new seal and a piece of cardboard in there. It's just packing. As you can see from the pump, it's good to look at the pump because you can't see all the fixings on the car. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fixings for the water pump. So we know we need to get them 7 fixings out. Right, what I've done is I've put a bit of foam over the electric power steering motor. I don't really want all coolant to get in that. So, I mean, you can use a plastic bag or whatever. But this is ideal for me because the water's going to run that way down into my bucket. Yeah. To get to one of the bolts at the back of the pump behind the thermostat, we've got to take this hose off here. That clips off easily. Just up the top here, there's a couple of clips that comes off there like that. There's some wires what need to be disconnected, but there's also a E10 screw that you have to just take out. And then there's a clip at the bottom, a bit similar to all the other clips, which will release that hose. So once that clip's released, that whole pipe comes off the turbo. Right, as you can see now, we can get to some of the more awkward screws. What I've found is a very useful piece of equipment, which I've bought just recently, is a mirror on a telescopic stick, but it's also got two bright LED lights in, and this will aid you in lining up and finding the bolts. Right, the top left hand one, as you look at the pump, is an absolute nightmare to get to. The only way I've been able to get to it is with a cranked ring spanner, and you get like a quarter of a turn on the screw, and that's a real nightmare. And you have to come in from this way, and you can just about see where you are. You're just going to have to be patient with this one. Once it's cracked off, it is quite loose, so I might be able to get in there with fingers now. On? Yeah, right. That one, I was right. You can now get your fingers in there, finger and thumb, just around this little plastic actuator thing. And I'm in there now, and this is the last one, hopefully. Let's take a little time to come out. And there we have it. That one's a bit of a sod to get at. Right, all 7 screws are out. I've tried to give it a bit of a wiggle, it won't come out. I've got a dead blow hammer, I'm just going to give it a tiny little tap, see if it'll. No, nothing. I'm trying something else this time. I've got a rather large flat bladed screwdriver. I've put a bit of rag there just to stop any damage, and I'm going to try and lever the pump out via the pulley. There it comes. She's coming. Right, I've wiggled it about a lot, and I thought we could never going to get it out. It was very tight against this actuator arm here, but eventually, with a little wriggling and jiggling, it's come out. Right, here we have it. One water pump. Right, looking at the old water pump, what I've noticed is that there is actually 2 dowels which hold the water pump in place, as well as the 7 bolts. Now if you look there, the dowel is still in place, so one is left in the pump. There's another counterboard hole there where the second one is, that is still in the engine block, so you need to remove that pin from the water pump. Right, I've managed to release the peg with a pair of pliers, the dowel, and you'll need to insert that into the engine block. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the thermostat housing bolts out. Right, as you release the thermostat from its housing, you'll notice that it's under spring tension. Obviously, that's how thermostats work, with a spring. So don't be surprised when it springs off at you. So it pays you to only part release the bolts. I really don't want to damage the gasket on this because I haven't got a new one. It does recommend fitting a new one, but I think they'll be fine. Right, I've cleaned everything up. It didn't need a lot of cleaning, to be honest. It was in very good condition. Let's put the thermostat back in. The housing gasket, I've taken all that out, give that a good clean, and that looks fine to me. Just centralise the thermostat in its housing. There's a little location peg for it. And then need to put the bolts back in. Right, I've had a look, and it needs to be 10 Newton meters for these 4 screws. Right, the face of the water pump where it goes is very clean indeed. It's very nice. I will just have a quick wipe round with a rag, and we'll put it back on. Right, I'm going to try and fit the new pump. Like I say, it's just a reverse procedure of before, except it's gone in. Yep, the coolant pump bolts all set. Well, you're never going to get that 7th one done up on the top left hand side, so you're going to have to do it with a spanner. But the other 6 10 Newton meters. Right, obviously that's the bottom bit that goes onto the turbo, and there's a hose there which goes onto that hose there, so that just goes back on. Right, the thermostat hose will go back on. You want the clip pulled back out, you want to locate it back on, and then push the clip back in. Oh no, see, and that didn't lock on that time. Right, you want to push it on. Ah, there you go, and that wants to go all the way on. You really want to make sure that's on properly. Clip goes back in, give it a quick tug. That's in place. Right, the next thing is the belt. Obviously we had the belt off, we know exactly how I laid it down, so that wants to go back on. Right, we're going to put the belt back on, around all the pulleys. It's got the right belt there, yeah. It is a tight fit. The other thing you want to make sure is that's in every bin, there's a 6 ribbed belt. It should be in all the things, yeah. Right, whatever you do, don't forget, put the drain plug back in, and be careful. It's only plastic in plastic, so don't go mad on it. Right, my coolant says that's at minus. Between the minus 35 and 40. Alright, so we're now going to make our new coolant for the same consistency. The coolant I've bought is the Comma Extreme G48, which is the one which is recommended via the Comma website. It also says it's on here it's rated for BMWs. I've also got to mix with it the deionised water rather than normal tap water. So I'll be mixing that to the quantity stated on the antifreeze. On the dilution chart on the antifreeze, to get minus 36, which I suppose my coolant was roughly at, it's a 50-50 mix, which makes it very simple. So I'll just do that now. Ready? Mm-hmm. Right, what it says in the manual, the Haynes manual, is that to turn the heater system on, put it on to maximum heat and fan speed on low. This operates the heating valve, so we'll leave that like that.
I'm so sorry, yeah.
Right, I've opened the bleed valve slightly, and I'm now going to pour in my mixed coolant, which I've already mixed. No. Right, what we want to see is water or coolant coming out of the bleed screw, exactly what's happened. So that is now right. What you need to do as well is give the radiator hoses a bit of a squeeze. That'll push any air back into the expansion tank and then out. As you can hear, there's a little coming out. There's quite a lot at the start.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that took a bit of time, but the intercooler went back in. The clips, you need to make sure that you get them back in. The one round the back is the hardest bit, seeing whether that's engaged properly. But as you can see, the intercooler's all in on the other side. Right. The next thing to do now is to get the airbox back in, the fan back in, and we can get it running, because we need to run it and get the coolant levels correct. I'm not going to put any of the covers in underneath yet. Might be a bit premature to fit everything back, so we'll just put some bits back. On the intercooler, it was a really tight squeeze to get it in. These little plastic clips, they lock in on a little tab there, and then they just twist out. I've took both them out. I'm now going to put both them back in. I'll just show you how they go back in.
Yep.
Right, so these two clips, they came out of them two holes there, that one there, so it goes in, and then it just slides round until that peg goes in there like that. And the other one, I wish I'd have took these out when I was taking the intercooler out. I think they would have made it easier. That's all back in there. The two screws are back in. Right, the radiator, as before, just clips back in. Plug back in. Right, we'll put the air hose back on, done the screw up, just got to put the plug back on. That just latches back on there, air box is all done up. I'm not going to put any of the tray on yet on the top, because that's only the scoop for the air filter anyway. So we'll have it running now and check the coolant levels. Right, we're now ready to start the car up and do the procedure where we check the coolant level. What we'll do, you leave the expansion cam off and you run the car up to normal operating temperature and then top up as necessary. So if we can start the car up. Just below its maximum cold, so I'm happy with where that is at the moment. The bleeding method in the Haynes manual was very complicated, didn't seem to work that well. I basically tried to get it warm, kept it topped up, and in the end took it out for a run, and it seems to be okay. Right, what I now want to do is I found some instructions on YouTube about how to get into the hidden menus. I want to see what the water temperature is. So supposedly you're supposed to turn the ignition on, hold the mileage counter trip thing button in for 8 to 10 seconds. So let's give that a go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ah, right. That's menu 1. Right. Supposed to go to menu 19. Now, I don't know if you can get into it by. Oh, that's the number there. Right. That number there, that PT number, that is the last 5 digits of my chassis number, which is the VIN number, and I've got them off a logbook, and it was 39791, so that's correct. So that's the number you need to have. You need to add all them numbers together. So you had to add the 3, the 9, the 7, the 9, the 1 together. I believe that's 29. So what do I do now? Do I push the button again? Right, that's gone into number 1, right. What if I hold the button down? Nothing. Right. get to the next menu. Ah, 2. Right, you hold the button down. 3. Gotta get 2. Oh. Ah, it's gone all the way back to the beginning again. Right, that should be, that there is my water temperature. Right, let's start the car up. Oh, it's gone. Ah, it's come back. Right, let's take the car out for a drive.